Thank you everyone for joining us today for our Spark overview as part of our back to school series. We're going to go ahead and get started. You should be able to hear me now and see my screen. If you can, please let me know by writing in the chat box, just to make sure that everyone can hear me. Next. My name is Lauren Brenner, and I'm the marketing manager here at Edulastic. I joined the Edulastic team earlier this month, and I'm really looking forward to learning all about Edulastic Spark content with you today. I used to be a kindergarten teacher, and now I'm excited to be working with K-12 educators like yourselves. I hope everyone is having a great summer and you're excited for the upcoming school year, whether you're in the classroom, remote, or hybrid. And we definitely know last year was full of challenges, and we applaud the hard work you put in. As we begin this new school year, we are here to support you and here to make your life easier in any way we can with Edulastic. I am joined today by a few of my Edulastic colleagues. Jenny Tookoian, Senior Content Product Manager, will be presenting the Spark overview today. My colleague, Ileana Betancourt, will also be available in the chat to monitor any questions that come up. Once again, thank you for joining us for the Spark overview today. Before I pass the training over to Jenny, I want to share a few housekeeping items. Next. Please direct your attention to the chat. You'll see a drop-down above where you can enter text into the chat box. Please click this and change it so it is set to all panelists and attendees. I invite you to use the chat feature throughout the duration of this presentation to collaborate and share any thoughts you have with the other educators on the line. Let's try it out now. Type into the chat where you're from. You'll also see a poll that I've launched about what subjects you're most interested in hearing about today. And I'll also be launching another poll about what grades you're most interested in. And I'll start on coming to you from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I see New Jersey on the line, another Philadelphia, California. It looks like in regards to subjects' interests, we're all over the board. There's some math, there's some science, some ELA, and a few computer science. Now I'm going to go ahead and launch my second poll to see what grade level you're coming from, elementary, middle, or high school. And Jenny will be using this data to cater today's webinar. It seems like most of our attendees today are from middle and high school, which is great. And once again, I really encourage you to continue using the chat feature throughout the duration of the presentation. We have a lot of educators on the line, as well as Edulastic colleagues that'll be happy to answer any questions that come up. And there's also the Q&A section at the end. Please feel free to write any questions in the Q&A box in the Zoom chat or in the Q&A bubble. We'll be monitoring this and we'll be answering questions throughout the presentation, as well as at the conclusion during our Q&A time. Here's our agenda for the session. This is our brief introduction, and in a few minutes, I will turn the session over to Jenny. She will cover today's Spark overview, which will include our Spark approach, the different Edulastic Spark bundles that are available, and how to access Spark, including your free trial. And like I mentioned, at the end of the presentation, we'll have a few minutes for a Q&A. Next. Jenny will be giving our Spark overview today. Jenny is a former teacher who spent time in the tech world, came back to the classroom, and then found her happy place in EdTech at Edulastic. She has worked with Edulastic for 5 years and currently works on developing content and training in the customer success group. I'm now going to turn it over to Jenny. Jenny, I invite you to unmute and start screen sharing. Thank you for being here today.
Hello, everyone. There we go. It's good to see everybody here today. I'm glad you're joining us this morning. This is a project that's sort of been in the works for quite a long time now. It started off as supporting 1 or 2 districts with custom assessments, and it grew into supporting all of our customers with some assessments that would span across the country, across the grade levels, and across different subjects. So we're finally, after about a year of hard work, we're ready to introduce and have teachers this year start using our Spark Premium Content Bundles. Those are, so basically they are pre-packaged sets of assessments that are meant to complement your curriculum. So that can be, you know, for us, that was probably one of the trickiest parts, was how do we find something that spans, that most of our users can use? And, you know, how do we make it so it complements so many different approaches and so many different types of curriculum out there, and ways of teaching in addition. So what we did is we came up with a strategy for each one of these areas that took sort of the highest or broadest path possible, and tried to fill it in as best as we could. So we've got SparkMath, which includes several different curriculums. SparkMath is sort of our crown achievement too. It includes not only the tests or the quizzes, the unit tests, short little activities, but it also has a very robust reporting feature around it. And it also then, once you get your reporting, it can help you differentiate different activities, and it makes recommendations of what the next step is by each student or by groups of students. So it really does help differentiate a path for each one of the students. The next area that we have is Spark Reading, which really is, I should have put SparkELA because it encompasses so many different aspects of the ELA area, from phonics to text, literature, texts, writing, and reading comprehension. We also have SparkScience, which is NGSS aligned content, questions and claim evidence reasoning activities, quite a bit of questions in that area. And we have computer science. So that we'll go into each one of these a little bit deeper, but these are the areas that we have started off with. Now we have two really great things also coming out at the end of August. And the first is Spark Writing, which is a lot of grammar, it's word choice, it's activities that reinforce the language that your students are studying in class. And then we also have Spark Advanced Placement classes or courses, really. So we've got Calculus AB, Calculus BC, AP Bio, AP Chem, US History, US Government, English Comp, and English Lit. And these will all be coming out, almost all of them will be out by the end of August. One or two of them will be trickling in the early fall. So we have a wide breadth of subjects and age groups, and I'll walk you through how these work. So here's the list, and then just to kind of get it out of the way, the first things that people might want to know is how to access this. So what we've done, because these are brand new to us, we've offered a free trial so you can get in and try it out. And then once you finish your free trial, then you can purchase the subscription, and it's a 12-month yearly subscription. The Spark bundles are add-ons to paid accounts. So if you are a premium teacher, or you have a school enterprise or a district enterprise account, then you can purchase the Spark bundles as an add-on. The pricing, the full bundles are $100 per premium teacher, and that's unlimited use for that teacher, or $2 per student if you're in an enterprise. That would be a school or a district subscription. And then the single subject, so if you were just to choose phonics, for example, or just computer science, that price is a little bit lower. It's $50 a teacher and $1 a student. So I'll show you how to access these, but I wanted to get the details out in the beginning so that we could focus on the content. So let's start with SparkMath. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through just a little bit more detail about each one of the areas, and then we'll go into the app and I'll show you how to access them and give you a little feel for what they look like. So SparkMath, it has 5 curriculum alignments. So the SparkMath is sort of a general one that applies to a lot of subjects. We have an Engage NY path. We have illustrative mathematics path, a Go Math, and a Eureka Math. And so these are aligned to the curriculum pacing guides, but they're unique questions that, that we've created, and they will help complement what you're teaching in your class. The SparkELA has just a lot of stuff. We've got Spark Reading, which is reading comprehension titles. And so this is really aimed at a younger to middle grade audience. They're sorted by Lexile levels, so you can pick and choose where you want to put each student. And they're short reading comprehension passages, very similar to what they might experience at end of the year state summative assessment, where they're given a topic and then they're answering the comprehension questions about it. We've used a combination of political or like current events, excuse me, that's the word I'm looking for. We've used like current events, we've used science pieces, we've got quite a few pieces from Highlights magazine that are really fantastic, sort of span the role of science and careers and role models and some other really great topics. And then we just have a lot of poems, and we've got some other types of texts that are short stories and whatnot, so that students have sort of a rich experience. And these are really meant to, again, complement your current curriculum. They could be used as something like a homework assignment. They could be used as an in-class activity, some like a sort of warm-up activity. It could be good for a sub-day. Lots of options for this type of reading, and they're really not heavy. They're pretty light and enjoyable. That was the goal. Moving on to Spark Phonics, we have a set of activities and questions for emergent readers. So it really can be used for kindergarten through third grade. The third grade would be students who are struggling and need a little more reinforcement. But we have some diagnostic assessments that go with this, and then we also have a series of activities that are very picture heavy. They are drag and drop. They're the kind of things that kindergartners and first graders, the youngest readers, could do on their own. The SparkBooks is really my favorite offering of all of this. It is the top. We took the most popular or most frequently taught textbooks, literature textbooks taught in high schools and junior highs throughout the country. And we've created vocabulary tests, chapter quizzes, and final assessments for each one of these books. We had a lot of high school and middle school teachers just burning these up for us the last couple of months, and it's turned out to be a really solid offering. The point that I want to make about the books is that we are always looking for new titles. So anybody who uses SparkELA or SparkBooks, we would love to know what you think should be there, and we will add that. So we're excited to grow that out to meet the needs of our users. Spark Words and Spark Writing are kind of in the same category. Spark Words is a little bit more vocabulary, how to use words, what the nuances are. And then Spark Writing is a little bit more on the language side. So it'd be a little more grammatical activities, word choice, tenses, stuff like that is coming. And so that is literally in its final stages. We're just doing some QA on it, and it will be launching by the end of August. So for SparkELA, we have quite a big selection here. SparkScience. Okay, so this bundle includes some elementary, middle, and high school questions. There's more than 1,000 items, and we have written them in two ways. Some of them are the traditional style of questions because some teachers are still using that in their curriculum, or some teachers want to have just sort of that checks and balances, like, do you remember this fact? So we've got a few of those in there, but the majority are NGSS style questions, which is a lot of scientific inquiry. It's looking at charts, looking at data, and coming up with logical, scientific-based answers or results or assumptions about the evidence that's shown. So we've got a lot of those kind of questions where it's really diving into how they think and are they thinking like a scientist. We also have some pretty significant claim, evidence, and reasoning activities for each grade level. And those are pretty exciting too. Those have been written by some really impressive teachers out there who really know what they're doing. And this has been a fun project to work with them on as well. And last, we've got Spark Computer Science. So this was inspired by the curriculum that you find on code.com, but it is fairly generic and it reinforces a lot of the basic principles all the way to advanced principles for computer science and coding. So if you've got, electives or any, you want to incorporate some kind of computer science curriculum into your daily activities, this might be a good complement for that. And there are thousands of questions that are basically just activities that reinforce those basic to advanced topics. So this is so far out of my realm of teaching that I marvel at looking at this, and I also like to kind of go in and do some of the younger basic activities and get an idea of what this world is about. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go into the app and I'll show you how to find these. I'll show you some examples of these, and I can take any questions that you might have about it. So let me just escape this. And I'm going to go into my teacher account. So the way that these Spark bundles are packaged is they're packaged through our playlists. So if you've been using Edulastic for a while, you'll know that the playlists were something that was released last year for last school year. And it is a way, it's just like a music playlist, it's a way of organizing in a logical sequence a series of assessments that are in Edulastic and also resources. So you can add complementary videos to a test, for example, and all of that can be organized in this playlist. So that's where we chose to put the bundles. So when you have purchased a subscription, actually, I'll show you how to purchase or how to go to the subscription. But once you have done that, then you will go down here to the playlist, and that's where you'll see your subscriptions that you've purchased or that you're using as a trial. So before I dive into what that looks like, let's just take a step back and show you how to find those. So down here at your profile, if you click on that and you look at the subscription tab, when you click on there, here's where you'll see access to each one of these trials. And for the first, if you haven't already used a trial, you'll see here up here an option to choose it and how to purchase it. So here you can get an overview of just all of them, or you can break them down. You can add to the cart, you can learn more, and you can purchase them directly here. This one down here, it says try now because I've already tried a few of these on my account, so I don't have access to it anymore, but you should have these try nows as an option, and that's how you would do the trial. So that's where you first sign on to it. And again, everybody starts with a 2-week free trial, and then you have the option to purchase the full a year's subscription. So if you've purchased it in July, it'll go to the following July. It's not a school year, it's based on the calendar year. So let's jump back over here to the playlist. And I've already got it lined up for SparkMath, but the first thing you would do is you could search for you could filter for your grade or your subject, or you can you'll see them, they'll be popped up here. This just kind of makes it a little bit cleaner when you searched for a certain subject or grade level. So the collections are where you'll find all of the Spark subscriptions that you have access to. I'll stick with SparkMath here. Oops, I cleared it out. So here in SparkMath, you see I've got 4 items that show up here. I've got the Eureka, the general SparkMath, I've got integrated or illustrated mathematics, and I've got Go Math here. So if you want, so if I was a teacher that was using Eureka Math, I'm gonna either explore this by looking at the details, or I can select use this. I'm gonna put details first so you can just get an overview of how much information is in here. And then I'll show you the use this and how you can customize it. So when you're just perusing the playlist, you'll use that overview button, that view details, and you can see all of the modules that are lined up, and this follows the curriculum for the whole year. So in one playlist, you'll have access to all of the modules that are in that textbook or in that curriculum for the year. You'll notice that they are topics. Like in this, for Eureka Math, for example, it's got modules and topics, and it has end of module assessments, and it's got end of topic assessments. So you've got these options here. You'll see all of those are included. You can preview the test, or if you wanted to use it, you could go ahead and just assign it. So let's jump over here because I have already used this, and I'm going to go find them up in my playlist. So here is that same math module. And this, as the teacher who's using it, is I'm able to assign these directly. Let's see here. So you can start with just the assign. You can assign the whole module, or you can assign individual pieces of the module. And you also have the ability to customize this a little bit and pull out or add in some tests that you want to use as well. So the really, really cool thing about the math, SparkMath, is that you've got these other two options here. You've got an Insights tab, which will give you just a quick overview of the mastery. Since this is a demo account, I don't have data in here, but you'll be able to see by plots how many students fall into this high performance category, how many are in the danger zone, basically, and then how many are just sort of sitting here on their way to a different category. So this Insights will give you a quick overview. You can look at it by all modules. You can look at it by just certain assignments that you've given. And it really lays it out and gives you a quick idea of how to group students, or how to help them, or who needs help and who can move on. Based on that data, the differentiation tools will give you an idea for each student what they should be working on next. So if this student scored a certain score, then you'll have this student's name, and you can assign a retake, for example, or a reteaching of a concept, or you can assign a brand new lesson and they can move on. So you've got a couple of ways to select some recommendations. You can slice and dice their performance here and sort of filter through, and then it will make recommendations for what the next lessons in the playlist should be. So it's really powerful, very interesting, very useful tool. And a lot of our teachers, it's met with such great success over the last couple of months already. So we're looking forward to a good school year with that. I'm going to jump down here, and I'm going to show you a couple other, just give you a sample of a couple other playlists, so you can kind of see. I know we have a lot of ELA teachers in there, so I'm going to jump over here to another account and look at some of the Spark Reading samples. So again, I filtered for Spark Reading. I'm in the playlist section, filtered for Spark Reading. I put the grade levels that I'm interested in, and you can see each one of these is a book, and it's its own playlist. So different from the math, where it's an entire course in one playlist, this allows the teachers to pick and choose the courses or the books that they're teaching. And so you'll recognize some of these. Many of them are the true classics, but then we've mixed a lot of more modern selections, some of the more recent texts that teachers are teaching now and students are responding to. So we have we hit the classics because those are the ones that are most often taught, but we also have quite a few of the good new ones in there. So if I click into one of these, we'll go into the details. You'll see this one has these are vocabulary checks. So for each part, there's a pre-reading and a post-reading vocabulary quiz. You've got the chapter quizzes for each one of these. and you've got a final essay. So some of the final assessments are automatically graded and some are essays, and it was based on what our writers felt like what the best way to assess these types of the specific book. So the vocabulary quizzes have anywhere between 15 to 25 vocabulary words, depending on the text. The chapter quizzes have 3 to 5 questions that are pretty much the basic questions that you might ask anyways, but the benefit of this is that they're put into Edulastic for you and organized for you. And then the final assessment is usually, if it's an essay, it's 1 to 2 choices of an essay. If it's a final test, it can be 20 to 30 questions, give or take. So if you wanted to use this again, you would use this. The other option you have here is you can customize the content, and you could add your own in or remove some. And that you'll have the ability to do. You won't be able to change the questions themselves, but you can modify the assessments. So it makes sense for the way you're teaching or your particular students. So I can go in and show a few more examples, but we are coming to the end of our time, and I wanted to be able to answer a few questions if you had some.
Thanks, Jenny. That was great. And as someone that's brand new to Edulastic, I found that super informative personally as well. A few questions did come up regarding what you just discussed regarding SparkBooks and the essays that are included. Okay. You mentioned that some of them are some of the formative and summative assessments are multiple choice, some are essays. How are the essays graded, and can I give my students feedback, and how would they view that feedback?
Yes, so they would be a, I'll pull this one up. So they're graded. You would have to grade them through the live class board, but you can use. We've got several options using the live class board for premium accounts, where you can annotate and you can write some feedback for the students. So you would be grading it manually, and you would be able to, using the live class board, you would be able to grade it and leave comments. It's a bit of a longer topic for me to jump in and show you the live class board and where you would do that, but we should have a few examples and an article that we can send to you later that would show you how to go ahead and do that.
Thanks. And you mentioned that the variety of novels that are included in SparkBooks, would they be adding any additional books throughout the school year coming up?
Yes, so we definitely want to add additional books. We have about 30 right now that are out there. So we decided to just hold tight with that first 30 for this school year, and then take recommendations or take requests basically from our users. So if you had a text that wasn't included, then we could add that. We have writers who are waiting to do it.
Perfect. So you heard that, everybody. If you have other novels that are included in your curriculum, feel free to send over the title, and our team will be right on it.
Yeah, the more relevant we can make this, the better. That's the whole goal with this.
And one more question before we wrap up, and then we'll leave a little bit of time at the end, but we'll hang on the line for any outstanding questions. Are the item standards aligned, and what DOK levels are included in Spark?
They are, so Spark is typically levels 2 and 3 DOKs. There are a few ones, particularly in the math and the math and science areas, but a small percentage of them are DOK 1s. What was the first part of that question? It was the DOKs and the standards. The standards are all Common Core aligned. If you are in a different state that doesn't use Common Core, we do have a crosswalk that's created from Common Core and the states, most of the states that have some overlap or some congruency with Common Core. We have a crosswalk, so it will automatically convert the Common Core to your states, the equivalent state standard. There are exceptions, certain states have less of a correlation, but most of the ones that do, it will automatically show up. If you happen to be in one of those states where there isn't a correlation, you can go ahead and add, you can edit the test to add your standards. That's a possibility. You also can, it will show up as just a blank standard that you can add the standards to.
Great, thanks for that useful information. And we have one more question that came through in the chat. I know a bunch of these questions have been answered throughout the duration of the presentation by the Edulastic team on the line. One last question before we wrap up. Is Spark automatically graded or is it manually graded?
Almost all of Spark is automatically graded. The only exception is on the Spark reading, where we've chosen some essay topics. But so 1% basically of the Spark offering is manual grading. The rest is auto grade.
Great. And like we said, we'll be in the chat and in the Q&A for a few more minutes. So if you have any further questions, please feel free to write them in the chat or in the Q&A bubble. And now we're going to turn back to the presentation for a brief minute to wrap up real quick. Just some additional upcoming trainings and demos that we have that we'll be presenting. If you like today's presentation and you're interested in learning more about one of our subject-specific Spark bundles, we have some SparkMath coming up this afternoon at 1 p.m. Let's say 1 p.m. Pacific time and 4 p.m. Eastern time, SparkELA tomorrow, and SparkScience and computer science in the coming weeks. So, and for our full back to school schedule, the link is in the bottom of that slide, and we encourage you to sign up and join us for another upcoming training and demo next. And last but not least, we encourage you to join us this Thursday on Twitter for our first EdAssess chat, so you can chat with other Edulastic users and ask any questions you might have and chat with us about this upcoming school year. Next. And thank you again for joining us today for our Spark overview, and we hope to see you on another upcoming demo or training session soon. Have a great rest of your